And we're back here at WCG 2019. It's been so fun to be casting all these games.
Yeah,
and,
we actually the fan matches that we've been having have actually been quite good so far.
Yeah, I was shocked by that 2v2. I was used to kind of the normal 2v2 rigmarole, and then as time passed, I'm like, oh, this is actually so sick.
Yeah.
We're going to be going into some more matches in just a little bit here.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be Team Europe versus Team China, so we'll see how that goes. Please help us spread the word about WCG. We just started up this morning, and
yes,
I
day
think the
2 here, but
word
day
is not out there
us.
that well, so
right.
Let people know. And you can come and enjoy walks down memory lane with Tastosis, as well as some good quality StarCraft.
We're the old fogies here. We're the 2 old Muppets at the
That's right. That's right.
the back of the theater. Because this is really where it all started for us, was WCG. And it's been so cool to be down here with all the games that you can imagine in esports. And yes, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because you called us old fogies, so I started doing some math in my head. Reynor's 17, right?
I thought he was 16. 17 or
16 or 17.
Yeah.
So I won my first WCG tournament before he was born.
We're very old.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess we're young as far as like
2002.
adult years go, but yeah, for esports people, it's hard to get older than us. Wow.
That's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. What's crazy is StarCraft as a franchise is actually, older than he is. It's always been part of his life. For me, what is your first RTS? I started on Warcraft 2.
Yeah, Warcraft 2. It's my first.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing I had ever experienced in my life.
It was the coolest thing I ever saw. I would go to my friend's house, and he had one of those cool older brothers who was not going to beat us up and would let us watch video games that he was playing, because that's sort of the dynamic when you're a kid, right? Is the older brother gets to play stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing him playing Warcraft 2 and being like, this is the coolest thing ever.
It was the coolest.
And little did I know that would eventually lead to my career. All right, we're in game. Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Hope Mom's watching.
Hope so.
Very rarely do you get a shout out in a game.
If anyone knows Vasa's mom, send her a message with the stream link. So, Vasa versus Resoultion.
I bet Vasa's mom is in Twitch chat right now making coffee pasta. I'm sure she's ready.
Yeah. So Resoultion is the Chinese amateur, and Vasa is the European amateur.
Right.
So yeah, this is exciting, Tasteless. We get a nice PVZ here.
Yeah, I'll take it. We got the probes scouting out here now. And let's see what kind of game we're going to have here. No cannon rush this time around.
No.
Gateway gas coming out.
This map gives us a lot of big macro games.
Right.
But, this matchup, Protoss generally is a little bit aggressive in, so we'll see about that. But, yeah, very cool stuff. Of course, whoever wins the 2 vs. 2 tournament gets to choose who they play in the first round. And the waiting in the finals is Neeb and Neeb's team.
That's right.
So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? It wasn't Maru. Maru doesn't get to choose.
No. Neeb really delivering here today out of all the players that we've had so far. He did an excellent job. And so we have that probe just got killed off there.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake for sure there from Resoultion.
And this is pretty natural, when you get guys of this caliber. And no disrespect to them, but, it can be a little bit overwhelming. You're down here.
Oh, absolutely.
There's like infinity people down here at WCG. It's packed. And, of course, your game's being broadcasted, which can be a little bit of an alien feeling, even if you play StarCraft constantly.
Yeah.
As a competitive player, it is sort of an odd feeling where you're like, okay, this is the one that's going on the record. This is the one that's being documented. Yeah,
it's kind of probably the most important match in all the amateur's life for sure, right? And they are being relied upon. You got to put those points on board so your teammate has real chance of getting a better bracket. I think everyone's kind of fighting to not have to play Maru in the first round, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
definitely something important. Worth avoiding there.
Yeah. The thing is, all 4 of these players are quite strong, but we were talking again to Neeb and Reynor, and both of them, if they win, have decided that they'll probably pick up Xi'an as their first round opponent. A strong player, but doesn't finish as highly as they do, for instance. And you obviously don't want Maru. Maru's a real scary beast here.
This is something that can happen when you have these types of brackets where there's one player who is so disproportionately, I don't want to say better, but way more accomplished.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, well, if I can avoid him, that will drastically change where I'll be as far as results go, assuming that I lose to him.
Well, it's an interesting thing you bring up, which, by the way, another interesting thing, look at that, disruptor tech. I think we're going to see disruptor drops. That's very exciting, very different.
Cool.
But, yeah, you know, this is something about WCG in general, too. When you get a good representation from around the world, like, for instance, a WCG event in StarCraft 1 back in the day, right? Because that was what was in StarCraft in WCG for a very long time. Obviously, the Koreans are so much better than everyone, so you knew that they were going to win, and maybe it's a slightly less competitive tournament for them than something in Korea, but more exciting, I think, for most international fans watching, you know, the international players trying to fight against them and place as best they can, right?
Right.
So, no problem there.
Here comes that scout, by the way.
Yeah,
Let's see if he actually can identify the disruptor tech. Looks like you see everything there. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to know.
It's pretty crystal clear, excuse me, what's going on here. It looks like he will lose the Overlord, though. That's unfortunate.
Yep.
Probably a little bit unnecessary, but...
But you know what? He got the scout, and that's really the important thing, is to see that, oh, okay, this is going to be a disruptor drop, a speed prism. So that can be a little bit hard to play against, for sure.
And so this is not just a game of ideas at this point in time where it's like, okay, do I know this or not? It's also going to come down to execution here. Finesse is going to be key. So let's see how much damage Resolution can actually do to Vasa here.
Yeah, and look at that, a Colossus follow-up, so definitely a timing push is going to be coming out from Resolution. I'm kind of excited to see what this build looks like, but how much damage this Disruptor does, I think, is going to be really crucial.
Okay, so we have the two Stalkers here in the front. The Disruptor shot is going to come in here now, and big hits there. 3 drones killed off.
Very
Beautiful
solid
pickup. Virtually no damage done there to Resolution. And he'll probably go in for another dive in a little bit here with a Colossus tech behind this.
Yeah, picking off anything right now is so worthwhile. Oh, maybe a little bit of miss micro here, dropping it out too quickly, not getting that Disruptor shot off.
Yeah, kind of dropping that and not really doing anything with it there.
Yeah. But right now, Resolution is macroing up at home, which is really important. Oh,
nice hit there on the Queen. Beautifully done.
Absolutely. Picking off a Queen, not a bad victory. You know, he is just gaining value over time with this drop. So if he can continue this and just pick off little small bits, the follow-up timing attack is going to be all that much more scary.
Spire coming down here now for the Zerg. It's going to be a little bit before that takes effect. Behind this, Resolution's powering up for a pretty intimidating 2-base play. So Zerg is going to have to be ready for whatever's coming his way.
Yeah. You know, a Spire is on the way here for Vasa, so that definitely can be good against these robo-heavy timings. You generally don't have Blink or Stargates or anything. So if it's very Colossus-heavy, you can just kill that off relatively easily with Corruptors or possibly even go into Mutas with that. So I kind of like the way he's going about it.
Okay, Resolution beginning to push out. We're going to see the activation of that 2-base play. And now the question is, how is Zerg going to handle this? Are they going to lose too much? Can they hold this off? Because whenever you're powering up on 2 bases, it's pretty difficult.
Wow, that was a good shot right there.
Beautiful shot there. Yeah, whenever you're on 2-base play, if you don't do enough damage right away, you're probably in trouble because you didn't position yourself to be healthy in the late game.
Yeah. Big warping around here of Zealots, which can really buffer for this Colossi. There's only one Colossus that I see, though, so that could be a little bit problematic. Not that much damage output. Some Mutas are on the way, but there's enough Stalkers definitely to hold off 3 Mutalisks.
Okay, so that was the exact kind of connection that he needed to have.
Yeah.
And this is the thing about Disruptors, is the amount of damage that you can do without actually trading basically anything is huge. And, I mean, this is where the hammer comes down here on Vasa. I mean, Vasa, I don't see him recovering from this at all.
No, this is so deadly right now, but he's massing up Mutas, so there's this one small chance, right? If he can eliminate this army completely with Mutas, maybe he can come back. But I don't think it's really enough. These force fields are amazing.
Yeah, I think a few more Stalker warp-ins, and that's all you need. We have batteries being made back at home in case of a counterattack, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Here comes 7 more Stalkers, and that's going to be a GG.
All right. So
hopefully Mom was watching.
Yeah, should be proud. The GG and the heart came out.
Yeah.
So, Team China is going to go ahead and lead this series going into the 2 versus 2. We'll see how that match goes down and what races they want to play. Reynor was saying that maybe he'll end up using Protoss in the 2 vs. 2. I don't know if he's decided fully on that or not.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. Pretty straightforward game. I mean, when you're doing any kind of 2-base power play, it's going to come down to that attack, at least against a macroing Zerg like that. Is that going to get in there and do the damage? In this case, Zerg was woefully unprepared for that moment. I mean, completely got run over.
Yeah.
And some of that is because of those disruptor shots that got off.
Absolutely. Those were definitely very helpful. Had a hard time engaging the right places. The force fields were very strong.
Right.
The Mutalisks, not sure if he should have made them right then and there, but...
yeah, it was late for sure. I don't know if the mutas, even if they were out, I think it's
or even early. If you have like 5 mutas, they don't really do anything. You need to get quite a clump. So sometimes when you go Spire, you want to hold off on that or really dive into it as quickly as possible. And that was kind of in between those two.
So in that game, we really saw, I think, a little bit of a disparity as far as who's more comfortable playing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just that the strategy worked; it worked so well. I wonder where the Zerg's head was at. No disrespect to the Zerg player, but we see this with some players on the amateur level as much of the game was about your knowledge and your understanding and how good you are at control. It's also about comfort.
Yeah, it's very true.
Are you comfortable there playing? Are you your own worst enemy?
Well, this is something you can see kind of reflected in the pro scene where you find someone that's like a practice bonus where he's spoken well of, everyone knows he's strong, and then just doesn't win anything. That's someone that's just not as comfortable playing the actual official match, the match that has the pressure. And a lot of times that's a big part of it. You see people that are champions who generally play as well as they do at home or close to. Some people even go above and beyond. There have been players over the years that play better live than not. Like I've known some of these. I know you have.
I've been one of those players in tournaments, especially when I was much younger. I just could not perform.
Oh, you mean you could? I was saying there are. I think that's most people. It's hard to perform when you're playing live and all the pressure's on. But there are a few gems out there that just play better in that situation. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, there's some people where it actually works to their benefit.
It fuels them,
and there's somehow. Whether it's through their upbringing or just how they're hardwired, they're ready to execute when it's necessary.
Yeah, I always felt like a WCG player that was good at that, Froz. I always felt like he played better in offline events than he ever did in practice games.
His play in a tournament match was impeccable. But in online games, whether
he never seemed that strong, and then he'd really put out.
Yeah, and he was able to calibrate his mindset so well. And just like deliver in such a perfect way. Where
felt that way, yeah.
I mean, this has kind of been a thing in esports, I guess in sports in general.
You know who else does that? In Control is another player that when the tournament is on, I have always felt like he plays better in those situations.
Well, he's always had this competitive background, right?
That's true,
he was a competitive power lifter. He did competitive speech and debate, competitive Warhammer. And so he's sort of geared towards just competing.
Yeah.
Where, like, I'll use myself as an example here. I was so out of my element when I would play in tournaments when I was 15 or 16. It was like I would be playing the game, but I was not even thinking about the game. It was like I was thinking about myself being in this position and like, okay, I did fly out to this tournament. This is important to me, but I'm sort of not – I'm not doing what I practice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going through the motions. And it took me a while before I really got comfortable and I could actually just, hone in and do this thing that I was trying to do. And that's why you see a big disparity. I mean, we'll see this in GSL, for instance. Some of these guys who are obviously, like, take Morrow, for instance. Everybody who plays StarCraft 2 knows who Morrow is. The odds of you not being aware of that player, it's, like, impossible, right, if you follow any competitive StarCraft. But look at some of these well-known Korean players who don't normally get to round of 32, but occasionally they pop in. And a lot of times it's a total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they are
a lot of times
basically like top 40 in the world, they're not able to get to where they need to be and actually pull off what they practice.
Sometimes if that happens too many times, it builds upon itself and you start to be self-defeating as well.
It becomes a really bad feedback loop almost.
Yeah, the psychology behind competition is always very interesting to see how it affects the different people and how people cope.
Who was the player in Smash Brothers that had a sports therapist? He was very public about it, but was it Hungry Box? He brought us.
That would make sense because he's part of Team Liquid, right? So I know Team Liquid has worked with sports psychologists.
Yeah.
I think TLO was. If I recall correctly, TLO was like one of the very first people that was doing that type of thing.
Yeah, and he's always been among the most progressive pro gamers, kind of on the cutting edge of what you need to do to actually get better. And yeah, I mean, there's something to the mindset of going into a major match and how do you handle yourself, because you are totally right on the feedback loop.
Yeah.
Like, once it happens enough times, it becomes this weird self-fulfilling prophecy, and it can become incredibly destructive to a professional gamer's career.
We have seen it. Like, Sue in GSL, he tipped past a point where it doesn't even make sense logically that he would have lost 6 finals.
It becomes almost meme-worthy.
Yeah, well, it became so silly and went so far beyond anything we've ever seen that he actually won Katowice. I think he almost got over it because it happened for so long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, now he can just play well.
He's in a familiar spot. It's the finals that I never win.
Yeah.
I think, what, 7 times of that. And eventually he came out on top.
Yeah.
So we're going to be going into this next game as soon as it's ready. I'm not sure what the delay is, but
it's the 2 versus 2, so it takes a little bit longer to set that up and get everyone color-coded or whatever, or teamed up. And but I don't know.
Artie, we're back at WCG.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it's very neat. It's starting to fill up in here as well. Quite a few people. We were just walking around doing that little break.
What time is it now? It's almost noon. So there'll be more and more people filtering in here. But it's so cool to be back at WCG. Mm-hmm. I have so much affection for this tournament.
Yeah.
And I think the future is going to be really strong for an event like this.
Oh, I do as well. I think that the events like this, again, there's something about the national team aspect, the fact that it can get in some of these, people talk about, where's the amateur level events and things, right? Some of the people that come to WCG, they are somewhat amateurs within their scene, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe not for StarCraft 2 here. These guys are all former pro gamers. We do have the amateurs that have joined in, but yeah, it's just it's like a wonderful thing to aspire to, right? It's kind of like when you start out playing a game, right? Like, I know everyone out there was a professional gamer basically at GoldenEye or something, right? But it's like you beat everyone on your street.
Yeah,
and then
you were pretty sure that you and the 8 other guys at your school, in your middle school, were the best players in the world. There was no way there were people that were better than.
Everyone has the same exact story.
Yes.
Everyone. It's like, you were the best at this one game, and that's why you're in esports. But yeah, I mean, you get better than everyone in your street, and then everyone in your block, and then everyone in your state, and then, maybe eventually you start working towards country. Obviously, if you live in the right or the wrong country, that means that you're going to be the best player in the world basically at that point. But, there's this step before that as well that's very interesting.
And eventually you reach further and further until there's some guy in Belarus who you can't beat.
Yeah.
And I do love this global component. And I think it's so necessary. With gaming and the way that, we're all connected on the internet, this is the hottest, most competitive thing that there is out there now.
What?
You can absolutely connect with anybody in the world and measure your own skill.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the global aspect of WCG is so important is, obviously we live in South Korea. That tends to have the best players at any game, generally speaking.
Any game that they care about.
Any game that the country takes interest in, yes. But to take every nation and bring everybody together so that there's that opportunity there. Mm-hmm. There's the chance that you can maybe be that underdog that was not born in the right place to be groomed for that kind of success, but you have a chance to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's why, Cyril winning the World Championship last year was so special.
Yeah.
The mold was broken. It was always a Korean up until that moment. And definitively he asserted himself as the best, and that's what's so beautiful about this.
Yeah, it's very rare, even that there's been WCG finals that weren't Korean versus Korean. There have been a few of those here and there.
Fisheye versus Go-Go, StarCraft.
Android made it to the finals.
Who did he play in the finals?
Let's see, that was 2005.
Android,
actually,
player.
Android, that was the year against Go-Go, I think, wasn't it?
Or it was Fisheye versus Go-Go in that finals, and Fisheye won 2-1. Fisheye winning on the island map. I remember watching that in college. Android I don't know what finals he was. I mean, there's so much.
It was the 2005, so you casted it live.
But I'm not going to remember. There's so many games I've casted.
You don't remember everything you ever casted? This guy.
Who did he play? It must have been.
So he beat Silent Control to get there. He beat Silent Control TVT.
Was it Midas?
I could have sworn it was actually Ogogo that won that year, but maybe I'm wrong. It could have been Midas.
Midas was probably the one that won. Yeah, if it was in Milan in Italy.
No, it wasn't Italy. Italy was I Love
This
Uv,
is how
Midas.
old we are at this point in time. Midas won.
I Love Uv was Italy. I remember that very clearly. Because the Malaysian player beat him in best of one.
Who did I Love
Uv
play in the finals? That means I casted that too, but
yeah, I can't remember.
I Love Uv. Maybe it was I Love Uv versus Midas?
It might have been.
A lot of those WCG StarCraft 1 finals were very, actually game-wise lackluster.
Yeah, Midas made to a lot of them.
There was a lot of story in those, but
2004 was like 4U, Midas, and Zelos, if I recall.
2004?
Yes, because I remember everyone was like, oh, it's the Korean pros, and no one would go say hi, so I went up and shook their hands.
I wasn't at that
Hi,
one.
guys.
Because 2005 Zelos
Welcome
was
to
there.
America.
Because that was like the weird moment where I kind of like
Oh, you weren't there at 2004. That's right.
I wasn't at that. I think I was in trouble with my mom because I was doing bad at school and I wasn't allowed to do a tournament. There was some lost year of Tasteless where I was basically flunking out of school. My mom's like, okay, that's it. You can't go to any tournaments until you get your grades up. But 2005 was where I saw the Korean pros and had that kind of like fan moment.
Yeah.
You see someone who's famous to you, and I was kind of like, there they are.
Sign my mouse pad.
Oh my God, sign my mouse pad, please.
Yeah,
and,
no, totally.
Yeah. God, so long ago. And here we are. We're keeping this con going.
Yeah,
I know that the stream doesn't have that many people. I think WCG is just coming back. I think a lot of people, unless you're our age, you might not know what this tournament is. It might seem like another random tournament.
It's been some time.
So the last WCG, we casted that. Was that in Germany? You and me?
No.
What was the last WCG?
Okay, so the last WCG that you and I casted was in 2011 in Busan.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe there was WCG the next year, and we did not do it, if I recall correctly. I believe it was in China that next year, and we did not do it. 2012. We were
why
doing
didn't we
lot.
Do it?
We had so many events. I'm not sure why, but I think that it existed that year, and we didn't do it.
Oh, that could be because StarCraft 2 came out, and we were just like
it was pretty wild. 2012 was a very, very busy year.
That esports train took off, and StarCraft 2 being the only esport at that time, it was like crazy how much you were traveling.
Yeah. Yeah, 2011. That one was fun. It was a Chinese player in the finals, Shigua, against MVP, and MVP won.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was in Busan.
And we wanted Shigua to win because if a Chinese player wins, and this is generally true for most nations, but if a player from that country wins, the game blows up in that country. And so if StarCraft 2 player had won at WCG, we were probably guaranteed at least 3 times as many Chinese esports events to go cast at.
Well, at least that's what happened with Warcraft 3 because Sky won Warcraft 3 in WCG World Finals.
Yeah.
And that exploded Warcraft 3 to the point where Warcraft 3 pro scene is still alive and well in China. So even to today.
We were rooting against MVP. It didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a period where MVP was traveling the world, crushing everything, including his wrists, which is why he had to stop playing.
Crushed everything.
Yeah. Dominating harder than
still his name is thrown around as GOAT, right? So there's like 4 players that
hard to top that.
Yeah. About 4 players you can say with that. Of course, they're all Terrans. But
of course.
Right.
Yeah, it's been such a blast to have this thing back, though. I mean, I'm really happy. WCG I've always had such a unique relationship with, just as someone who competed in this. Back in the day, forgive us for sounding old, there was one tournament you prepared for the entire time.
Yeah, it was WCG.
There was some online cups, occasionally a random LAN.
Yeah.
But without stuff like this, I mean, it probably would not have built us into the people that we are now.
It would not have. My life would be completely different. I have no idea what I'd be doing.
Because if you don't have some kind of organizing factor, and it's not just like that it's a tournament like an online cup, it's that, okay, people showed up, there were referees there.
Represent your country.
There were rules
in place.
Moments. Yes.
Proud moments.
That, if you won there, you'd be funded to go to the next level. And it was a graduating process. You'd have to occasionally be like an online ladder.
Yeah.
Other times it'd be like, some kind of online cup, and eventually, okay, you qualified for this LAN. You go to the LAN. If you win there, you might go to the next, the actual USA Finals, which is something that you and I both experienced and had the opportunity to succeed in that format and go there. And that's really where you're kind of coming together, right? You're meeting all these players that were either your friends but also maybe rivals online. You're connecting with them. And you're all down there with the same common goal to prove yourself as the best.
It was so much fun.
So cool.
Just the greatest times possible.
And I'm glad that we're now in an era where pretty much no matter what game it is, you have a chance to prove yourself.
Yeah,
and if you can prove yourself enough, you can actually fund yourself into the future. There's financial support there as well.
Yeah, for so many games at this point. It's almost absurd how many esports there are right now.
It's crazy. And I'll tell you what, man, it's not going to get smaller, that number. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to compound.
It might.
This is the nicest way to be competitive nowadays, right? I mean,
explain that thought.
Well, think about like American football, right? You can get concussed. You can destroy your knees. Here, whether it's on your phone or at your desktop at home or your laptop if you're traveling, at any moment you can click a button and you are there competing against somebody.
Yeah.
And it's digitized, but it's controlled in a way where, okay, you can keep your rank there. There's anti-hacks in place, which is a problem that we did not have back in the day. As you'd find out, some of these guys who were beating everybody were actually hacking.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and you can actually come down here and really compete.
Yeah.
And this won't concuss you. This won't tear apart your
It's nice,
joints.
like the barrier to entry is gone. It used to be tournaments or ladders to practice. You had to be so on top of finding your practice partners that was half of the practice, was networking yourself correctly and getting these people to play you, and then putting out a high enough quality game that they're going to want to play you again, and then moving on when you're past them. And when you look at all that compared to just queuing up on ladders, which every game has now, it's such a different world, and it's so much easier to become better, especially with people streaming themselves playing. It used to be that every tournament that you would go to back in the day, you would get twice as good from going to the tournament because you finally saw other good players playing, and you could pick up so much because streaming did not exist. There was no video taking on PCs. There was no YouTube to upload.
Streaming really was the game changer.
And now, I mean, the amount of intelligence that you can have at this point, you can watch Maru sometimes streams, and then you watch Maru and you're like, oh my God, you learn so much.
Well, there it is. That's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
He's just playing right now, and I can watch him. Where, a long time ago we had to dig up replays.
And then you don't even know how people are prioritizing or how they're moving their hands on the keyboards. You'd have to go to live events to learn so much of this. Yeah,
it was crazy. Very different world. But I'm glad that we're where we are now. I don't know what the future holds, but it's so cool that we actually have the apparatus set up where if you are passionate about games, if you want to improve, here it is.
Yeah.
It's all there for you.
You can do it.
It used to be such a niche and frankly mocked at thing.
Oh yeah.
When we were younger, not anymore. The nerds have won.
They have. Victory finally.
The nerds have finally. The nerds roll the earth now.
Yeah.
So I don't know where our game is. We're still.
I don't even want it to come back to you, so I just want to sit here and talk all day with you about this stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I didn't know we were going to be nostalgia tripping this hard.
Yeah.
But once we started casting, and even the coloring of the event, the kind of the white and the blue, we're actually on this desk. We're on the far right end of this. I guess you call this a dais, right? But to my left,
isn't it a daze?
What?
A daze?
No, it's a dais.
It's a daze.
Do you
really say? Yeah, a daze. We're on a daze.
No.
D-A-I-S?
It's a dais.
Maybe where you're from, not in the Northeast.
I never trust you with pronouncing any word.
It's a daze in the Northeast.
On this daze that we're on, there's I want to say about 5 or 6 other casting desks. Everybody's casting.
There's casters up over there too. There's a bunch of casting booths back there.
We need casters casting other casters.
That's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're.
Chobra's standing up right now. He's getting excited for this team battle.
Yeah. There he is.
Whoa.
It's good to see Chobra again, too.
I know, right?
It's kind of cool being down here because, first of all, there's 80 casters here. That is not an exaggeration.
That's a lot.
Multiple languages. But we're getting to meet people that are like veterans, that we've met before, and then people where it's like maybe their first or second event, which is really special. And the fact that there's so many titles down here as well. I mean, a lot of times, especially with kind of the way that esports is now, everything is sort of sectioned off based off who the publisher is, right?
Yeah.
Blizzard games are over here, Valve games are over there, Riot Game is over there. Now we can kind of bring everything together, which is nice.
I like how you fixed yourself, Riot Game.
Riot Game.
Took me a minute.
Yeah, that was for you.
Yeah.
I was sad when you didn't respond. I thought, okay, moving on. But no, but to have everybody down here together, and then one of the places where the esports boom is really starting to hit, which is China, and that is not going to slow down. It's very cool. Yeah.
I want to reminisce about the last time we were in China for a WCG Grand Finals. It was 2009. You and I were down in Chengdu, which is where it's like in the middle of the mountains, a lot of panda sanctuaries down there and stuff, so that was cool.
Right.
The USA representatives for Brood War were Idra and Louder, who used to be on EG. I remember Special was the Mexican representative. We got to hang out with him a whole bunch as a little kid.
Major back then.
He was a lot smaller.
He was like 13 or something.
He was pretty young.
There was this moment, too, with that where, like,
it's 10 years
and this
ago.
happens to me more and more as I get older, where I realize people think I'm the adult.
Yeah.
Where he was, like,
it's
following us around. I thought, like, what do you want? And I'm like, oh, I'm older than you. You think that, like, I'm –
yeah.
I know what's going on and I'm in charge here, but I don't. I'm a kid, too, in my own head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That never goes away, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were over there, and that was truly a very fun. Oh, we have a technical issue, guys. Memory lane later. We'll be back.
We'll be right back. We were going to come back eventually. We're finally here. Yes. It looks like the technical issues should have been sorted.
Yeah.
And we're going to hop into this team game.
Can't wait. China's leading 1-0.
That's right. We're going to see if this can match our team game we already had. That 2v2 was epic.
Yeah.
Neeb almost winning a 2v1 with one of the players being Maru.
I'm excited to see it. Like, obviously Reynor on a hot streak recently, but his teammate did lose the 1v1 versus Cyan's teammate.
That's true.
So it's just something to keep in mind there.
So we'll see what kind of 2v2 we're going to have here. But generally speaking, 2v2, a lot harder to just tech into late game. It's a lot more about getting those engagements off right away. Anybody who plays too oriented to a late game situation usually dies to a rush. Now, in the last one we had, it was a double stalker attack that did not work out well that ultimately allowed those two Terrans to then push forward. And it became a very interesting 2v2. We're going to see what kind of one we're going to have here now as we have Cyan and Resoultion versus Vasa and Reynor.
All right. So it looks like those production tabs are not grouped by – are they grouped by team? Okay,
yeah,
Protoss versus Zerg, Protoss. So Reynor has chosen to utilize Protoss instead of Zerg.
And Protoss has a lot of units that can be pretty handy in 2v2s. Stalkers are great. Sentries can be very handy.
Sure.
So we'll see what kind of game we have coming into this. But very curious to see if maybe we'll have that double Stalker blink play like we saw in our previous 2v2, this time with Cyan and Resoultion being the double Protosses.
It seems possible. I really am not sure what to expect here, but I feel like if you have two different races, you can probably make a composition that is so powerful.
Yeah, if the game goes on for long enough, absolutely. You can pair your army with a lot of these units that are just not intended to be put together. since the game was designed with a 1-versus-1 perspective.
It's like charge lots and banelings, and the banelings just kill everything. Oh,
no. Okay. So right away, we're going to have quick expands coming down here on both sides. With Resoultion, the one player that's teching a little bit more quickly here.
Okay. And, yeah,
so this is
Vasa, our own Zerg player.
Yeah.
Not sure exactly what he's going to be going for here. Like, are you supposed to tech up quickly?
I'm not sure. 2v2 is just something I'm not as familiar with in StarCraft 2. I mean, we don't really get to cast a lot of these. So, to be honest, a lot of times when I am casting a game like this, it's more of a learning experience than anything else. Kind of an exploratory cast.
Sure.
I mean, the basic physics, I think it's not as hard to understand 2v2, but the nuanced approaches and kind of how the matchup unpacks itself, I'm not totally sure on.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see a bunch of quick expansions here. Obviously, we have a proxy Stargate coming out from Reynor. Roachhorn pretty quickly here from his teammate Vasa.
And with his Stargate tech, we'll see if he goes straight into Oracles. I mean, one thing to keep in mind, too, is, there's always the option of going Phoenixes and Stargate versus Stargate.
Sure.
I guess the bigger question is what kind of tech are we going to have here from the Zerg, really?
Yeah.
We already know how Protoss units interact with each other, right? I mean, we've seen that matchup. If this is all Protoss, it would essentially just be a giant PvP.
Yeah.
But instead, we do have that one Zerg in here, so that's the kind of the unique element of this whole thing.
A lot of roaches being made. Scouts at proxy Oracle, but he's actually going Phoenixes, so it seems like the Chinese team in a good spot.
Yeah, it appears we're actually about to have this rush start, as we've got a decent number of roaches moving out on the map, and of course this Oracle proxied over here is going to be able to gun down a lot of what's on the ground already here.
Sure. Well, there's a wall up, but Warp Gate nowhere near done, so a little bit afraid what this is going to look like when the roaches come over.
And this actually could end right away. Let's see, though. Is he going to go?
No.
Oh, no. He's going to go into the main now.
Oh, no. Reynor's starting to get some damage done here.
Yeah, immediately zapping down these workers. And that's a good number of kills already. Of course, he did not pull the ones on the gas here, so the Phoenix comes out. But, I mean, this Oracle's already paid for itself and a lot more. Now, we don't have a shot of this Roach attack here, but looks like that was fed it off pretty easily.
It's kind of too bad for him there. The fact that you go Phoenixes, if you take a bunch of damage from the Oracle, it's kind of defeats the purpose of you countering their tech so hard.
Right.
Another Oracle coming out, but Resoultion not in position right now. Uh-oh. Oh, tasteless. Resoultion's probes just being destroyed.
I know. He's getting hit pretty hard here. And again, even if this Oracle's taken out, it's not going to be enough to recover. I mean, you can see so many probes killed there. Right now, Resoultion down to 11. Now, if you compare that with Xi'an, who has 44 probes, that really illustrates just how behind he actually is.
Definitely the case. Very, very painful there. But Cyan is pushing out right now. Let's see what he can get done. I'm going to try to hit this expansion a little bit. It's funny watching the creep spread in front of the Protoss buildings.
Okay, good pickups here.
Cyan with a nice attack. But, I mean, as the Zerg units come over as well, it seems like this should be something that can be held, right?
Yeah, this is looking to be pretty flimsy defense over here on the bottom side of the map. And, I mean, Cyan is doing a really good job of juggling this. Did Cyan just turn this game on its head?
Yeah, maybe. Look at that. The Roaches and Queens coming over to fight, but getting picked off. Beautiful micro right there from Cyan.
If he starts to win this fight, maybe he could close in on the Immortal that's eventually going to pop out here. The two Phoenixes are going to come here to get some lifts off. Unfortunately, not getting those Queens, instead the Stalkers here.
Well, Reynor having a hard time helping his buddy out here, or even saving his own base. He gets an Immortal, but it's not that simple. Immortals are good against Stalkers, but when in these numbers, never mind.
And now it's getting repowered by that battery, and so that Immortal is never going to die.
Yeah.
And Cyan, who seemed to have at least an initial good attack, is not hanging on anymore.
Well, we have a couple Phoenixes there, so a lift on the Immortal could actually make this continue to snowball a bit.
Yeah, he needs to target that down. Now, there's another Immortal coming here, but it's still a ways away. And again, the batteries could still power that while it's picked up in the air. So unfortunately, unable to take that Immortal out, which is really the staple in the defense here for the bottom team.
Immortals, like, this is what I do. I watch and commentate StarCraft 2 All the time, and I still sometimes get surprised what an Immortal can live through.
Part of our job is just being in awe of the unit, the Immortal.
Yeah.
And just how much it can flip a game.
That was so funny that even when he lifts it and then it gets targeted as well, it's like, no, there's shield batteries here. Get out of here. Okay, so Xi'an going to send his own Immortal across. I don't think it's that strong, though.
Okay, so this is just an error.
Ooh.
There's no ideas behind that. That's just a bad rally.
Yeah, that's painful right there.
And Xi'an in a tough spot. I mean, he was already pretty much carrying the team, but now we've got a situation where it's like, you know, the macro engine for Resoultion is not going to kick in for a long time. Even if Vasa was cutting a lot of corners here, I mean, still, it's just, I worry about an inevitable counterattack.
Yeah, the Phoenixes, I mean, they're doing pretty well, to be honest. Like, Resoultion's doing a good job with these Phoenixes. It's just he took so much damage early on that it feels like, you know, let's call Reynor and Cyan pretty even, but, like, Vasa just should be well ahead of Resoultion right now, and we kind of see that he is, right?
Yeah. War Prism coming here trying to do a little bit of damage over there. Unfortunately, it was not very much. We are beginning to grow pretty quickly here on both sides of the map. I'm curious to see what exactly Resoultion can do to try to stabilize in this game. Right now, the only thing he's got going for him is these Phoenixes. And Phoenixes are good. I mean, they're strong units, but I don't know if they're going to be that handy when a big attack actually comes here from the other side. They're good at harassing.
That's a good point. Maybe he can pick off a few more units with them or something to kind of help out ahead of time. Resoultion is actually adding a second starport as well, so it seems like this is just exactly what he is to do. Maybe Cyan says, you know what, just make Phoenixes, maybe give some extra money to Cyan to buy the actual ground army with, and, you know, let's go from there.
Here comes that push. We want to watch and see what units the Phoenixes are going to pick up here. We saw a little bit of a misplay earlier where they were picking up Stalkers instead of the Queens. The Queens are much more important to eliminate in that last fight that we had here. And I just don't know that this base could be held. I mean, 3 Immortals against Roaches is not going to cut it. And so this hatchery goes down.
Reynor's army not looking that scary either, to be honest. Like, his economy's starting to get good, but this army of Cyan plus the lifts will just knock out most of these high-tier units.
Right. So this push continues on here.
Yeah, look at this. He's trying to make an Archon. The Immortals get lifted. That is huge. No shield battery this time to save him. And Cyan plus Resoultion making quite a nice 2-2 team at the moment.
Yep, he's continuing to press forward here. Really bunching up right now at the lower team into this corner. I don't know if they're going to go for the kill move or not. I feel like this angle would be unfavorable to try to attack into, right? It's a little bit of a bottleneck, even with the rocks destroyed there.
Yeah, it seems a little bit difficult. All right, well, he's going to go ahead and try to bust through. He does have those Immortals in the Prism.
This might
the
be
other Immortal rallied down once again. A bit of a mistake right there, but it looks like he'll save it this time with his Prism.
Yeah, he can juggle that back up here, and I guess he actually might have the push power here, even if this angle's not the prettiest.
Yeah.
This many Immortals is going to absolutely annihilate all these Roaches, and so now it's pretty much just Lings here, but now the angle ain't actually really bad for the Zerg to try to get in there and get any good surround with that melee attacking. Those melee attacking units in this kind of surface area that we have here.
Yeah, there's just this constant value coming out of Team Protoss, Team China over here. The Immortals doing their job. The Phoenix is getting infinity lifts as well.
So
very little left over here. Vasa trying his best to hold on.
Unfortunately, he did not kill that pylon, so an additional Immortal does pop out. These Phoenixes, though, just so valuable.
Yeah.
Able to disable these important units, especially the Immortals here. It looks like Cyan's on the brink of maybe breaking this, but I guess just barely they have enough to hold this off.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, Vasa's back must be tired, man, trying to carry Reynor here, who's having a hard time keeping his units on the ground. He keeps making Immortals. They're good, but when the Phoenixes lift them, they're not adding anything to that battle.
I'll tell you what, though, man. Hiccuping the production of those Immortals there is allowing our Chinese team to catapult way ahead in this game.
Yeah, they're looking really strong right now.
The Immortals are one of the only units where you really can make miracles happen with them. Mm-hmm. It's a lot less about just like trading and attacking. You can do so many tricks with them. So, yeah, slowing that down. And we're seeing this become evident just on the mini-map alone, the sheer number of bases that our Chinese team has, and they're continuing to grow uncontested, continuing to harass in that process as well.
And the fact that there's still Phoenixes being made and pushed out here by Resoultion, like, he just keeps harassing. Normally you can't just keep going Phoenixes because then you'll die because you don't have any ground units, but in this case,
You know, he's picking off Albion. Let's look at that. He just killed off another Immortal there. It feels like just strategically, the Chinese team came in with their act together.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I mean, especially for how this game started, where the Chinese team took a real beating back there. I have to say this is a very, very good showing.
Yeah. Well, Xi'an's still trying to make something happen over here with this harassment.
He's got to be careful.
I like that he's keeping him busy, but I don't think he's going to be able to really break Vasa. Like, he's a little bit of damage, but yeah.
And he just barely saves out Immortal before the rest of the Hydralisks drive him out. But meanwhile, I mean, these Phoenixes are continuing to bring a beat down.
Yeah, they're really kind of wrecking. But they are getting low on energy, right? So maybe there's something there that can be done. It's just that I feel like right now Cyan's army beats Vasa's army, I'm pretty sure. Like, he has Psystorm now, right? So that's going to be the big game changer because it's a very Hydralisk-heavy army, which I think is a good idea. But maybe if, like, Reynor can take care of those High Templars a little bit, maybe some feedbacks or something on them, right?
You know, I think that this is such a straightforward win here for the Chinese team. I think you just advance and keep crushing these two outer expansions.
Yeah,
and there's just nothing else you have to do, right? I mean,
I think strategically that sounds really sound.
Yeah. Even though it's not a complex idea, it's really just the only thing you're going to need to do in a moment like this.
Totally. Look at all those lifts. This is so many Phoenixes. He took down a ton of Hydras there. Now the Psystorm's coming as well. Very little left over. A lot of Archons here for Reynor. He does have those shield batteries, but yeah, can't come down this ramp against that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, in this game, when you have this much leverage in this position, all you have to do is keep smashing these two expansions. And look at this very clean rotation where he's going to once again warp in. They're going to hit the right side here. And I mean, how exactly are Vasa and Reynor going to answer this? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like they just don't have much longer to live here. It's more Psystorms going out, maybe not the best ones right there. I like the idea of
going down.
I like the idea of Archons in front of Hydras so that the Zods can't get to them, but the Psystorms are just wrecking.
Okay, more Psystorms coming down, and I think this is the beginning of the end here. I don't really see an out right now. I mean, supplies are plummeting. Growth on the map is essentially impossible for Vasa and Reynor here. And so they're just going to keep pushing forward here, and this should be GG in just a little bit.
Wow, this is going to make a very interesting finals of Team Americas versus Team China.
Yeah.
Where everyone's Protoss.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
That's interesting, yeah. Zarkons, well, looks like that's about it.
Reynor's left the game.
Yeah, Vasa fights on.
Up to you, Vasa. All right, here we go.
All right, so Cyan and Resoultion end up taking that down. Of course, Resoultion did beat Vasa in the 1v1 as well. So Team China wins 2-0 and goes on to the finals to hit Team America.
Right. And that'll be coming up down the road here.
We're not sure exactly the time. The original time we had planned was about 3 p.m. There was a little bit of a delay in here.
Let's see, what time is it now?
We are not.
It's 1:30 right now. It was supposed to be 3. It's almost certainly going to be pushed back.
Yeah, make sure that you are checking on social media. We will tweet when we know exactly when and what stream, because it might not be this stream as well. I believe we're going to move to a different stage for that cast.
So it won't be here. Even if you keep this channel on, there should be new games that are rotated on here, I think.
Yes.
It's been pretty hectic down here. There's so many different games and casts going on.
Yeah, everything's being shuffled quite a bit.
Right. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting match. I'm curious to see what an all Protoss 2v2 is going to look like.
Me too. What does that look like? Is it just only Immortals? Is it just only Phoenixes? do we have 4 Stargate Phoenix going on where it's just pure Phoenix the whole time?
I don't know. Get ready to play-by-play that. I don't know what that's going to look like.
And think about that for a second, Tasteless. So this is what I would do. Okay?
Go ahead.
Because Phoenixes seem pretty good, right?
Yes.
But you're wasting money if both you get Phoenix attack upgrades. You stack all the money onto one guy.
Yeah.
He gets all the upgrades, a Forge and 2 Cybers, pure Phoenixes, and the other guy makes 1 Sentry and micros underneath to keep the Guardian Shield going. Now, if they make an Archon, you lose. But other than that,
you're good. It's an impeccable strategy.
Yes. Unstoppable.
I'll take it. I don't know. You know, for us, we don't get to cast a lot of 2v2s, so it is sort of, again, always an exploratory cast what exactly is going to happen, you know?
Yeah. I'm ready for that finals. I want it to start.
I'm ready to do a commercial as well, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Not for a while now. No, we'll have to see what happens. Again, if you're just now tuning in, we have several more days of WCG.
Yeah.
We're only on day 2 now. And it's so cool to be back here at this event.
No, it is. And our last WCG Grand Finals, no, not our last one, but
the last one we did.
Yeah, the last one we did was 2011, right? So that was in Korea. But we were talking before, just in case that this turns into a very long segment of us talking.
I'm ready for it, too.
About the Chengdu WCG. We already talked about some of the cast of characters that were there, people like Special.
Yes.
I remember one of the really exciting moments was watching PJ's matches.
I will never forget that. It wasn't even on the stage, but there was a huge throng of cheering Chinese fans cheering PJ on as Stork barely beat him 2-1.
Yeah, so basically back in the StarCraft 1 days, no one was Korean pro gamer level. The only person considered maybe to be that was PJ, which was basically the oldest Chinese player.
Yeah, how old is he now?
I believe he's actually like a year or two older than me, but I guess we'll talk about that later because we're going to a break.
We'll
See
be
you
back
guys after that.
later on at WCG.